of someone or experienced yourself a renegotiation in your rental agreement because of the COVID-19 pandemic? Well, it's kind of a shift that we're beginning to see in key cities like Mumbai, Delhi and other metros where rentals have been considerably high and where a larger proportion of people live in rent. Now let me paint the scenario for you of the kind of people this has impacted. You work in an organization, say in Mumbai or Delhi, but your hometown is elsewhere. Now a couple of things could have happened. Either, hopefully not, you've lost your job, or you've had to work from home. You want to be with your family and the new system in place in your organization allows you to work from a remote location. Do you still want to shell out that much money for rent? Now, you're not the only one in that situation. There are several others who are now experiencing this, and it is beginning to translate into a drop in rental prices in major cities. Take a look.
Work from home, job losses and pay cuts, all of these have translated into the dropping of rates in the rental market. Metro cities that account for most rental income have seen tenants move out, cancel agreements and negotiate lower rents in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic. Meet Megha Agarwal, a PR professional who recently shifted to a new apartment. The smile on her face is because she's bagged a new apartment in a better area in Mumbai for a rent that is 9,000 rupees less than what she was paying earlier.
Yes, I just moved in 2 days back to my new apartment and it is on 10th floor and next to the car station. It was impossible for me to find this kind of flat in this situation. Yes, I've been living in Mumbai from past 5 years and I've never seen rent going so down. Like now I'm paying 26,000. In my previous flat I used to pay 35,000 rent. Now it's just 9,000 less amount, right? And as you can see, it is impossible to get the flat in this locality. It is very different because Bandra, Khar, Santa Cruz and Vileparle, Andheri, its rent is used to be starting from 35,000 to 50,000 of 1 BHK.
Rentals for a one-bedroom apartment in Mumbai suburbs like Bandra, Khar, Andheri, Goregaon generally range from 30 to 45,000 rupees. Rents in these areas have now dropped by 20 to 30%. Even in far-flung suburbs like Mira Road, Borivali, Thane and Navi Mumbai, rents are down by around 10 to 18%. Tenants who can't shift to cheaper apartments are ensuring that their landlords do not demand the annual rent increment of 10%.
Residential market is driven by a sentiment and homeowner doesn't want to lose their money as they had a fear of recession. In today's market, in and around Mumbai, less than 10% rental has been dropped out and lots of flats are vacant. Second, the current tenants are renegotiating rent with the current owner because they're getting a salary up to 50%. Because of this, lot of flats are vacant and even the current tenants are going to their hometowns or they are shifting to the affordable segment in the rental. Because of this, lots of flats are vacant and owners doesn't want to lose their money and they are ready to close the deals as soon as possible.
In Delhi, meanwhile, flat owners are complaining that tenants are not even paying full rent. Rentals are being renegotiated by tenants who have stayed back, and the exodus of people back to their hometowns means 10 to 15% apartments in the market are lying vacant.
They say customer is king, but it was not the case in rental space in both Delhi and Mumbai until now. But with people working from home and going back to their hometown, situation has totally turned topsy-turvy and rental space is losing its luster. And it's a time for reset both for tenants and the home owners. This is Rahul Kumar reporting for ET Now.
Well, is this a sustainable trend? Has the customer finally become king in the very tough rental market? And residential rental market is what I'm focusing on here. To speak more on this, I'm joined this evening by Anuj Puri, Chairman of ANAROCK Property. And I'm also speaking with Amit Kumar Agarwal, founder and CEO of NoBroker.com. Welcome to both of you and great to have you on the show. Anuj, let me get your perspective first. I mean, we've run the story with a lot of anecdotal evidence coming in right now. Is it translating into actual figures for rental yields? Is there enough data out there to bear this out?
Pressure on rentals. You know, if the economy is contracting, And as you said in your opening remarks, that there are going to be job losses, perhaps even pay cuts. So there is clearly pressure on the rentals. I would divide it into two categories. One is really in the tier one cities, as you rightly said, is Delhi, Mumbai, and the other metros. And the other is tier two, tier three. I think tier two, tier three, there is no pressure. Also the pandemic hasn't really spread to that extent in those markets. I think in the tier one, there are certain good societies, good buildings, more secure, more safe. We're finding that there the rentals they've been able to retain. I think it's the others where we are finding that there's a lot of impact. Certainly, there is no increase in rentals, even if it is coming for a renewal. The landlords had contracted an upward rental increase as an escalation. The tenants are not willing to do that. And clearly, the tenants are looking to get a discount. But in good, secure, safe building societies, the rentals continue to hold.
Are you seeing that as well, Amit? That rentals are continuing to hold? Is that demand even there? Because we're seeing instances where, especially in a city like Mumbai, if there are 2 or 3 people, professionals sharing an apartment, and a couple of them have left to go back home, there is no clarity if they will return. In Delhi, in fact, from what we have reported, there are a lot of people who are not even paying the full rent amount till they have certainty of what the future holds.
These anecdotes are true, but on an overall basis, what has happened is that in the month of April and May, 2 things had happened. One was that anything which was coming up for renegotiation either just got extended because there was a drop of almost 50% in terms of people moving out, which basically means that in the month of April and May, whenever for whoever the 11 months were getting over, they just continued. They negotiated with their owner, most probably for the same rent, and continued for a little longer. Now in June month, we are seeing that the number of movements out of the home to a new home has come back to the same level. The rentals had reduced in the month of April and May for some of the localities in the range of 5 to 10%. But I would now, coming back in June, the rentals have again now back to the same levels, because what is also happening is 2 things. One, situation is also not very clear. If I'm going to hometown, should I just leave my my house, or is it things are going to get better? And second is that in the housing societies, apartment societies, it also gives a lot of comfort of a cocoon in which you can be safe. So in the June month, in April and May, there was a drop in the rentals, but there was also a lot of extension of the same house living. In June month, we are seeing that the levels are back in terms of shifting, because the school season is also going to start hopefully soon, and hence many of the people whose kids had changed schools now are getting this small window opportunity where they are thinking whether they can shift the house.
Amit, again, schools are, I don't know if that bears out. I mean, logically, just think about it. Schools have also all gone online. Most schools have gone online. So technically, if you have made it to your hometown in the middle of this madness, if you still have your job and you can work from home, your child can study from wherever they are, you are going to take a good hard look if you're one of those people who are, shelling out good money for rent or a hefty packet for rent every month.
So what you are saying is true, but this is more valid for bachelor group. As far as families are concerned, on a large scale level, families haven't moved to hometowns. So what you are saying might be anecdotally true, but if I look at the no broker platform, the number of movements are back to the same level which were there in February, and the number of physical movements are happening within the same city. And there is, on a large scale level, it is not that people have moved away. Families, young families and the elder families, they have not moved away to hometown. That's not what we are seeing.
Yeah. Anuj, Okay, no, a fair point. Anuj, give me perspective on rental yields. We've been talking about all of this from the tenant's point of view so far. Let's look at it from the property investor point of view. They're going through a bad patch, isn't it? Rental yields were anyway dismal at about 2 to 3% over the last couple of years. Do you expect those, positions to hold, or do you think there will be a further drop in rental yields?
So, Tamanna, you're absolutely right. The rental yields for residential in India are pathetic. I mean, really 2 to 3%. And I think there are various reasons for that. One is that traditionally capital values have been quite high compared to the rentals. And clearly that really doesn't stack up when you compare it to more mature markets. Plus, in more mature markets, the landlords are usually institutional owners and they provide service. So as a result of which, rental yields are a little bit more attractive at 4, 5, 6% on the residential. Unlike in India, you're absolutely spot on. It's 2%. It had started to push up to 3%. I think 2 or 3 things will happen is, Tamanna, as the rentals continue to remain under pressure, and we've spoken earlier, Tamanna, the capital values will also be under pressure. So, both will actually play together. So hopefully the rental yield will be able to hold ground as a percentage, even if there is a movement downwards on the rental, because there's going to be equal pressure on the capital values of those residential. So clearly I don't see residential yields going up. I do expect that the yields will remain as unattractive as it is today for the investor. Hopefully at some stage, the capital values start to rise, and that's when the investor will come in, which I don't think in the short term, Tamanna, is likely to happen.
So those heydays of property investment hoping for rental yields are pretty much over, Anuj.
I don't think so, Tamanna. They're going to come in that easily, and I won't even recommend to the investors who are looking at a property yield to come in and play. If there is a game on capital appreciation where you are able to come in early in a development cycle, and you believe that it's a great developer who's going to be able to complete the development, and there is a play of upward trend in the pricing as the development goes through the development phase, then you may see some investors come in, but that's largely for capital appreciation, not for rental yields.
Yeah. So the rental yield story is, in mothball as of now. Anuj, just a quick word on where do you think the trend is going for commercial properties? I mean, is the work from home scenario and paradigm shift actually playing out in commercial, property transactions? Are offices trying to cut back, thinking that they can save on costs with a lot more employees working out of home for longer durations?
So Tamanna, it is true that there is a temporary impact on the office demand. Last year the office leasing activity, the net office take-up was nearly 4 crore square feet. We think this year it will be about 2.5 crore square feet new leasing. But clearly 1 or 2 quarters we will continue to see pressure on the leasing. What is interesting is if you look at the listed developers and you look at the REIT platforms as well, they've been able to collect between 95% to 100% of April, May, June rentals. So it does appear that the occupiers are wanting to continue to stay in the space. So we're not seeing large scale exits happening from the existing buildings. But what we are seeing, Tamanna, is a slackness in the new inquiries. And that's where I feel is that it'll be 50-60% of last year's net absorption.
Okay, just a last word from you, essentially on the residential side and what you're seeing on nobrokers.com, Amit, are you seeing the inquiries coming back, and what is the percentage of properties listed that are actually getting filled up at this point?
So what we are seeing is that in the month of April and May, people were ready to move, and this is the first time that I have seen it on No Broker platform, that people were ready to move houses. Yes, the number had reduced to half, but people were ready to move houses based on videos of the properties, because they felt that if they have to move and if they can't visit a lot of societies because of COVID, because the apartment societies are generally a standard unit, if there is a good video, then they can take a decision. So for the first time, I saw people taking that decision. So that continues this month. On an overall basis, this month, because in the start of this month, many of the cities got opened up, and things may go again into lockdown. So in the start of this month, there has been a huge spurt in inquiries, and in terms of total customer registrations, total properties being posted on the no broker side, we are back to the February level. In fact, there is a 5 to 7% increase in terms of number of inquiries, number of properties posted, and number of tenants inquiring. So perhaps I'm not sure whether this is a temporary, this is a pent up demand which has come back, and whether it will stay or not. Because typically you need to understand that the period from April to July is the peak period for rentals. We every year we see a huge business increase in April to July. This year, I think that increase has now limited to 5%. So overall, perhaps what should have happened compared to that, we are still down, and the conversions are happening at the same level that they were happening in February. Now, what needs to be seen is that whether this will continue, or will COVID spread so much that the lockdowns will happen again, and again we'll be back to the April-May situation.
Okay, that of course is something that nobody can hazard a guess about. We've had, as you know, we've discussed earlier in the show, another lockdown in Pune for the next 3 days. We've seen that in the state of Uttar Pradesh. So clarity is what will allow people to make life decisions, like whether to rent or not, or where to go next as well. But thank you for this perspective. Great speaking to you both, Anuj and Amit. Thank you for joining the show this evening.